Can anybody see me? Can you guys see me? Am I live? Somebody tell me if I'm live. Holy cow, I've been trying for 10 minutes to get on here. Can anybody see me? Somebody jump in the comments and say if you can see me. Do I finally go live? I have no way to know if I'm live. I hope you all can hear me. I sure hope you can. I wish somebody would tell me. All right, I'm assuming these yeses means that you can see me. So man, that was aggravating. All right, cool. Yes. All right, perfect. Yes. For some reason it sat on a little screen saying going live for like 5 minutes. And then finally I'm here. So all right, everybody, thank you. Let's do some shout outs. I want to shout out to everybody in the comments. There's a bunch of you here. I will give props to Amy for being the first comment tonight. Lobster tail with steak, garlic, mashed potatoes, and broccoli. Wow, I didn't realize we had such highfalutin people in here. Hey, Mike and Tina Bird. I just want everybody to know that the shout out for the anniversary today was by Mike's prompting. I hope that is common knowledge, but I was glad to be able to embarrass somebody, as I always am. So that was fun. Thank you. Got a prayer request there. 7-year-old with coronavirus. So pray for that to go well. Children have had wonderful experiences with that as far as getting over it. So hopefully it won't take her long to bounce back. So we're praying for her. Margie and Doug. Margie, you finally got all your soup containers back. Thank you for all the soup. And hey, Marcia and Joe. Man, Marcia's just rocking this whole technology thing out. Teresa Bitters, I looked for you 3 times today. I wanted to give you the book. I had it. My intention was to give it to you. I never found you. So I'm sorry if you were here and I missed you. I tried to find you. In fact, right after the sermon, I was looking through the cars trying to find you, and I missed you completely. So I'm sorry. I'll have to get you a copy of the book, the next book, as soon as we can. Matt Clements giving a shout out to all the moms. Happy Mother's Day. Tim and Candy Dickey in the house. Dave and Amy Jessen say, hey, everybody. Hi, Audra. Hi, Cheryl. And yes, Leah sang everybody's favorite song today at Awaken. Very good. You know, we have to give Tim a hard time about Thanksgiving. How was I supposed to know it's May? It feels like November outside. How was I supposed to know? So, good evening, Jess Skinner. Glad to have you here. Yeah, I almost believed it was November too, Teresa. It felt like November. Teresa, were you here today? How did I completely miss you? I honestly tried to find you, and I don't know how I missed you. Bill Haar. Hey, Suze. Yeah, everybody's allergies, Jess, are going to be going nuts because this weather is just stupid. So, hey, Wayne Street UMC is here. Good to see you. Praying for some warmth. Absolutely. Hey, Parker. Hi, Teresa. Teresa, tell me if you were here today. If I missed you, I am so sorry. Matt Clements is still laughing about Thanksgiving. Dude, it felt like Thanksgiving out there. Joyce says was awesome. Well, we know Joyce is always awesome no matter where she's at, so that's cool. Amy's also having allergy issues. Teresa says, awesome sermon. You were here, weren't you? I missed you completely, didn't I? I swear I tried to find you. And yeah, the window on the rain was, man, it was like 5 minutes before the service started and 5 minutes after it was over. We were dry for most of the time, but yeah, there was a window. We fit right into that window. So good. All right. Matt's praying for Amy. Good. Hey, Crystal and Bill. Good to see you guys today. Scrolling down here. Scott, I agree with you, Scott. It was good, but not like being inside. I agree with that. And thank you to Tina, the anniversary shout out. You're welcome. Hey, Christina. Teresa says she has static over the radio. You really were here today, weren't you? I'm a bad person. So hey, Ange, glad you're here. Hi, Anna Kay. Praying for your pain. Tim, it was good. You arranged stop. Yeah, I'm not taking credit for that because the next one that gets rained out, I'm getting blamed for. So I'm not taking anything for that. Teresa with happy anniversary. Amy's having problems with her back. All right, we'll skip on down here. All right, all these yeses, I'm assuming, are to me. Good. All right, everybody can see me. Hey, Joe can see me and hear me. That's cool. Teresa, I had your money. We were in the back of the. I don't know how I missed you. I swear, did you see me walking through at the end of the sermon when the last song was playing? I was literally walking through the parking lot looking for you, and I completely missed you. So that's fantastic. So, all right, Audra, Teresa's a very good hugger. She'll be certainly into that. Awesome music. Awesome music, not me, dude. Joyce, I don't know what we're saying there. And hey, Kim Kill, it was good to see you today too. Because I actually saw you, unlike the bidders that I just completely missed somehow. Okay, well, I had a conversation this morning with somebody, and I don't want to give anything away. We're looking at starting the book later in the week. I was able to give books. I gave a book to, let me think who I gave books to. I gave one to Dr. Cuck, and I gave one to Sherry Louth, because those are the only two books I had. So the delivery date on my other books are Thursday. If you want to pray that they get here sooner, that would be awesome. And I will do my best to get them out. Teresa, it might not be till next Sunday till I get you yours, but the rest of you who are within a reasonable distance, I will try to distribute those books to you when I get them. So hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. But I did have a conversation that we might have a special event later this week because I had somebody talk to me about the possibility of doing a special evening live stream. So that may happen later this week. And we'll see if that materializes. And that's all the more teaser you're going to get for that. But I did have a conversation with somebody. We may have a guest host later this week. After we finish Daniel. So looking forward to that. All right, what other announcements do I need to make? One of the goals, okay, I'm going to put this out there now so you all can hold me accountable. One of my goals this week is to do one of these live streams from the sanctuary. And the reason I want to make that a goal is I have to figure out how to do a live stream from the sanctuary computer, which is exactly this, except it's down there. We were kind of sweating it out this morning with the rain. So my hope is that, or actually my goal is to host one of these live streams for the sanctuary. So if we get to Wednesday and there's no sign of me being in the sanctuary to do this, everybody has my permission to get on my case, because I have to get that. I have to know how to do that by next Sunday. And there's some technical jargon that has to go with that. So everybody keep me accountable because I need to get that figured out this week so I can bring you one of these from the sanctuary so that I know how to do it for Sunday should, God forbid, we not get the window of opportunity we got today. So I'm making that commitment for all of you to hold me accountable to get down there and do that. I meant to do it last week and it just didn't happen. So I'm one of these kind of people who knows enough about technology to be dangerous, but I really don't know what I'm doing. So I'm just praying I don't get electrocuted figuring this out. It probably won't happen, but we'll see. So, all right. So there we are. And, all right. So cool. And Cheryl Cook says Batman. No, it will not be Batman. It will actually be another whole person other than this face. Possibly hosting one of these this week, and it's somebody you will truly enjoy. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's something that I had a conversation about today. So, all right. Well, I am prepared to have a conversation with all of you about the second half of the book of Daniel. Now, and I'm going to be honest with you, and I did this on purpose. In fact, I do all of these live streams this way. I have not even read this. And the reason I don't read it ahead of time is because I want us to have a legit conversation rather than me having a bunch of prepared statements. So the second half of the book of Daniel, I'm not as familiar with as the first half. And it's going to be easy to see why that is, because the first half of Daniel is pretty straightforward. The story is much like Joseph's story. It's a history story. Has some events, we could talk about. We got to see Daniel as the great evangelist, which he clearly was. He converted 2 kings. I mean, that's a pretty good resume. And so it's kind of a history lesson. And it's something that we can all enjoy. Hey, Linda Burkholder, appreciate you coming out tonight. So, all right. So that's what we're going to look at. So we're going to start in Daniel chapter 7. And any of you who have any familiarity whatsoever with the book of Revelation, you're going to find out that some of the stuff I'm going to read to you is going to sound very familiar. John from the island of Patmos, who had the vision of Revelation, he was a big fan of the second half of Daniel. I'm not saying he plagiarized it. I'm just saying the kind of language he uses to describe what he's seeing sounds very much like Daniel's words. Because the first half of the book of Daniel and the second half of the book of Daniel are very, very different. Different in almost every conceivable way. It's sort of like the first half, the part that we've already read, is sort of a polished history book. The second half is kind of random notes scrawled on the back of a grocery list. These read very much like if you have a dream tonight, and first thing when you wake up, you write down what you saw, just fast you can go, write all the details of the dream down. That is exactly how this reads. And there may be some explanation, but there's some explanation, and some of it's left to interpretation. Much of it will speak to the historical context of the time of Daniel. We're going to recognize some names of kings and stuff from the first half. Belshazzar is one of the first people we're going to meet. So that's kind of how it reads. Here's what I want to do. It's going to be difficult. It's having discussion. In my opinion, of everything we've done so far, the two things we've done that I felt led to the best discussion was Dangerous Prayers and Job. We had what I felt to be the greatest interaction, the greatest opportunity to speak. Joseph, while an extremely fun story, and Daniel, while an extremely fun story to study, is pretty straightforward. This is going to be more in line with some of the more discussion-heavy things. Now, I'm going to have to put some rules on some questions, how far down the rabbit hole we want to go with this, because a lot of these are going to be random images. So if you want to ask me specifically, well, what does the little horn represent? I can give you a bunch of conjecture, but that's all I can give you. Was Daniel writing to 2020 in the United States? No. Now, God may have been giving him a vision of something that may relate to something today. But do I think that Daniel or whoever he recounted this dream to, who wrote it down for him, do I think that person had some kind of concept of 2020 and was trying to give us a future interpretation? I can't say. All I know is these people had very, Daniel and John in the New Testament and you read book of Ezekiel. You want to read some weird stuff in the Bible? Here you go. Go read. Here's my challenge for you for tomorrow. I think it's Ezekiel chapter 2. Go read Ezekiel chapter 2. Come tomorrow night, and I double dog dare somebody to try to explain to me that what he's seeing is not a UFO. All right, that's my challenge for you. Don't do that till we're done. I don't want you off doing that while I'm talking to you. But between now and tomorrow night, go read Ezekiel chapter 2 and tell me if what he's describing doesn't sound like our modern conception of UFO. Okay? That's just for fun. So, all right. Very cool. So this is Daniel chapter 7. We're just going to kind of read through this. I'll do the best I can to stumble through some of the symbolism and try to bring you a kind of a clearer picture of what's going on. And here's what I would like for you to do. I don't want to talk for the next 41 minutes. I have no interest in doing that. I would like for you to ask questions. Just know that there some of the obvious questions that I have and you have will be questions that people have been asking for, a couple of thousand years. So I don't think that Pastor Tim is going to be the one to definitively answer them, but I'll talk about them as best I can. So just know that the results of the study might not be as concrete as, Daniel. I can be very clear and say, well, hey, Daniel converted Darius the Mede. I can be very clear about that because it's right in the book in black and white. Some of the interpretations will be very clear here. Some of them are not going to be clear at all. And so we'll work our way through them. But please, if you got a question or if I go over something too fast or you want to disagree with me or whatever, jump in the comments and we'll see what we got here. Now, you guys are familiar. All of you are familiar with genres. Genres of let's talk about movies because I think that's probably the one that we are all familiar with. You know, when you click open Netflix or Hulu, your movies are all in categories. You'll have action movies, you'll have history movies, you'll have dramas, you'll have comedies, you'll have what else is there? Documentaries. I don't have subscriptions to any of these services. I'm just going by what I remember. Uh, and there's genres. And if you click on an action movie and expect it to be a totally believable documentary type thing about superhuman people, you're going to be ridiculously disappointed in the movie. However, if you click on a documentary and it's like, ooh, I want to eat some popcorn and be excited, again, you probably will be a little disappointed. If you click on a horror movie and think, gosh, I'm kind of depressed, I'd like to laugh a little bit, you're going to be disappointed. That's why we have genres. And inside those genres, we have what is this in my hair? Bugging me. What is going on here? Anyways, inside of these things, we have what we call tropes. And what are tropes? Tropes are things that you see in, I can't say every action movie, but you'll see them in a lot of action movies. So jump in the comments if you're going to watch an action movie. What's a possible trope you think you might see? Let's be interactive here a little bit. What's a trope you think you might see? If you're going to watch an action movie, what's one scene that you almost always have? I mean, there's a bunch of them, but what's a trope that you may see common in an action movie? Somebody jump in the comments and tell me a trope. What's a car chase? That's the first one I was thinking of. There'll be a car chase. So somewhere, sometime, two people are going to be driving like morons through a city street and not hit a single person unless the script says they do. Blow things up is good. A car wreck is good. A gunfight you'll probably see. Very good. Anybody else got one? What's a trope you may see? You guys are killing it. That's exactly right. An explosion is probably very likely. Something's going to blow up at some point. Anything else? Dialogue from the villain. Nicely done, Matt Clements. You'll always get the villain that explains for too long and ends up losing because of it. Yep, you'll see that one a lot. Where they explain their plan for no apparent reason. A bystander in trouble who is a woman. Yes, you'll see that one quite often. You see something blowing up, Christina. I would certainly agree with that. Somebody's going to fight somebody. There's going to be a fist fight at some point. Yep, definitely. Any other tropes you could think of? Okay, there'll be a hero going to rescue the girl. Yep. Okay, so you guys got it. These are very common tropes that you see in action movies. And in fact, what I could do is I could take this little section of the chat you guys gave me. I could pull this out, write a script around it, and bam, I got an action movie script, right? I mean, we all love them, but we know they're all very similar too. Smoldering look off screen. If you're Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, you'll have that because isn't that his thing from the video game movie Jumanji? Smoldering. Blood-sucking vampires. You might see that in certain types of action movies, more maybe some horror movies, but also some action movies. All right, so you guys got the idea. Don't they use genre related music too? Yes, genres also are in music. All right, let's do music. If you're going to go to a nightclub and do dancing, do you think you're going to hear some Bach and Beethoven? No. If you're going to go to a American Idol, are you going to hear opera style music sang? Probably not. If you go into a church, are you going to hear some Nine Inch Nails or some Korn or some of that death metal rock? I'm certainly hoping you don't hear it there. If you go to the mall, are you going to hear Christmas carols? Actually, yes, you are going to hear that one. Because nothing says buy something like Mary had the lamb away in a manger. So if you go to a preschool, are they going to be singing Bohemian Rhapsody? Probably not. So that's the idea. So certain genres fit into certain places, certain genres of music. So yeah, you guys got it. A lot of different genres. And I could do this for any kind of disco club, and ballroom dancing means somebody's going to throw out a hip. That's exactly what that means. So, all right, so you got it. You also know in literature, much like movies and music, there are genres. And we've actually seen a few of them throughout our time. We've read, by my count, and somebody jump in and tell me if I'm wrong. We've read 4 sources. We started with Dangerous Prayers, which was a sort of a reflective. It was kind of a reflection to help us reflect on ourselves and our prayer life. So we read that style of literature. Then we read Joseph, which was a historical document that was preserving the story of how the 12 tribes of Israel end up in Egypt, and how, without their presence, Egypt would have crashed and burned. So you had a historical statement. From there, we went to Job. Job represented a different kind of genre. That was a theological study. Job is a story that helps us understand how God relates to the world. I mean, I don't like all the answers, but that's what the purpose of the story of Job is. The whole why do bad things happen, those kind of things. It was all a theological discussion. That was the book of Job. So we've seen that kind of genre. And then we just came out of Daniel. Daniel was also a historical document. And that's so that's a type of genre that we also can read. Well, we're getting ready to read a type of genre that we don't read from very often, but the Bible does have some examples of. And it's the genre known as apocalypse. Okay, this is apocalyptic literature, and the book of Revelation comes from that too. It's yeah. So the idea is we talk about apocalypse and we talk about visions. What that style of genre is trying to teach us is it's trying to help us see beyond what we can see. It's the idea of uncovering something to show us what's underneath. It's sort of like you go to the doctor and your foot is hurting, and you're talking to the doctor, and the doctor diagnoses you with with a bone spur or something like that. It's an underlying issue. And what this is trying to give us is to help us understand why things are the way they are. And in the Bible, when the Bible does it, it's always about revealing the nature of spiritual warfare. And it's a battle that we all are kind of aware of, but it's not something we necessarily see. It's not like finding a devil behind every tree. It's not anything like that. It's more of a constant struggle of things that are going on. And that's what the second half of the book of Daniel 7-12, is going to reveal or give us an example of. And you also read this obviously in Revelation, but you see in other places too. Ezekiel has some of this. Isaiah does a little bit. So, but the two major examples are the second half of the book of Daniel and Revelation. And that's where we get these. So it's about helping us understand the bigger picture and how this world functions, not only in a level that we can see, but also in a level that we can unsee. Or I'm sorry, not on the level we see, but also a level we can't see. I don't know how you unsee something. Is a level that you can't see, and how those kind of behind the scenes struggles and spiritual conflict can bleed its way into our lives. And I think that to live in denial of the spiritual reality of which we live is not a good choice, because it denies a reality that we are all very familiar with. So, all right. This is my half-hour introduction to this book, and I would like to get into this. So, as I'm reading this to you and we're discussing it, I want you to pay attention to the characters, and I want you to pay attention to what the characters are doing and understand. Remember, Daniel is a big interpreter of dreams. He's done that. He did that for a couple times for characters in the first half of the book. So we know that Daniel has that ability. And we also know that Daniel wasn't only about interpreting visions and dreams, but he also had them. Hence what we're about to read. All right. Having said all that, let's jump into Daniel chapter 7. Chapter 7, verse 1. Now pay attention to the names here. Earlier during the first year of Belshazzar's reign. Now remember, he was the middle king. He's the one that put Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace. because that they were not bowing down to the statue. That's Belshazzar. And we don't hear much from him. I think we get Nebuchadnezzar for a couple of chapters, and then we get Darius toward the end. Belshazzar gets like one chapter, and he has the whole fiery furnace fiasco, and kind of ends. So anyways, during the first year of Belshazzar's reign in Babylon, Daniel had a dream and saw visions as he lay in his bed. He wrote down the dream, and this is what he saw. Now, any of you who have ever had a dream, which I'm sure is all of you, know that dreams don't always make sense. We our Freudian psychological nature that we all have now, and the way we're just very analytical about everything. We say, well, dreams are the mind's way of working things out when we're relaxed and blah 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 blah. Okay, and that's probably true. But Daniel took dreams very seriously. Now, disclaimer, I'm one verse in, and we're already to the disclaimer. I'm not saying that all dreams are predicting the future. So if you're having, believe me, as somebody who has struggled with nightmares through most of his adult life, I can tell you that I don't want dreams to come true, at least not those kind of dreams. Night terrors can be terrible. Nobody understands that better than I do. And I just want you all to understand that, just because you're having a dream or having a reoccurring dream is not automatically foretelling disaster, even when they're crazy dreams like Daniel's about to have. So don't think that, what do I want to say here? I don't think there's something wrong with you if you are a person who dreams, because you're hearing somebody who has a long and not very wonderful history with dreams talking to you. Okay, so just know I've been there. Okay, verse 2. In my vision that night, notice how the pronouns change. The first line was, hey, Daniel did this, and this is Daniel. And then it turns to, in my vision that night, I, Daniel. So this is Daniel's own testimony to what he saw. So he's either writing this or dictating it. So somehow this is coming directly from the man Daniel. In my vision that night, I saw a great storm churning the surface of a great sea, with strong winds blowing from every direction. Seems interesting, right? Winds don't normally blow from every direction. Kind of makes it sound like he's standing in the middle of the world, right? Strong winds blowing from every direction. Then 4 huge beasts came up out of the water, each different from the others. Okay, so he sees 4. The first the first beast was like a lion with eagle's wings. Kind of an interesting mix of animals, lion with eagle's wings. As I watched, its wings were pulled off, making it more lion-like, I guess. Its wings were pulled off, and it was left standing with its 2 hind feet on the ground like a human being. And it was given a human mind. Interesting thing. Who pulled the wings off? I don't know. Maybe they fell off. I mean, maybe he shed them. Whatever. And now the lion is standing there. And it was given a human mind, meaning this creature, whatever it was, had the ability to reason like a person. Verse 5. Then I saw a second beast. It looked like a bear. It was rearing up on one side. So apparently it had one paw up, I guess. And it had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. So obviously this animal was fearsome and roaring because he could see inside of its mouth. I heard a voice saying to it, get up, devour the flesh of many people. So where the first beast lost its wings, the second beast got instructions to go eat everybody, I guess. Then the third of these strange beasts appeared. It looked like a leopard. It had 4 birds' wings on its back and had 4 great heads. Great authority was given to this beast. All right. As I read this to you, here's what I want you to notice. These images are clearly bizarre and not something you would see in nature. I've never seen a flying lion. I've never seen a bear with ribs between its teeth told to go eat everybody in the world. And I've never seen a leopard with 4 birds' wings on its back and 4 heads. I've never seen that. However, I can picture that. Can you get in the comments? Tell me, can you picture these animals? Can you picture what they might look like? I mean, these descriptions are pretty accurate, even though it's kind of a mix of images. We can understand what at least, if I asked you to draw me a picture of what you think these beasts would look like. I mean, you know what bird's wings looks like, and you know what a bear looks like, and you can imagine a bear with, ribs in its mouth. So I mean, yes, is it bizarre? Yes. But, we got pretty active imaginations, and we've seen creatures in movies and stuff before. So we can picture these things. Okay? Now, here's what I want you to notice, and you'll see this a lot. You'll see this in Revelation also. Whenever there's a series of 4 beasts, the first 3 beasts will be weird, but not totally off the wall. I mean, comparatively speaking. So we don't know what a flying lion looks like, but I can picture a lion with wings. I got an active imagination. I can picture that. But you always find that the 4th beast in these analogies, you're going, I don't know what that one looks like. And watch here. Verse 7. Then in my vision that night, I saw a 4th beast, terrifying, dreadful, and very strong. It devoured and crushed its victims with huge iron teeth and trampled their remains beneath its feet. It was different from any of the other beasts. It had 10 horns. How you doing on picturing that one? Verse 8, as I was looking at the horns, suddenly another small horn appeared among them. 3 of the first horns were torn out by the roots to make room for it. Little horn had eyes like human eyes and a mouth that was boasting arrogantly. Anybody got this one? Got this one down? The images always get, I want to say weirder, but I probably mean more chaotic as we go along. This is a mythological beast, as the other 3 were also. But this one is way out there, and it's very hard to picture that. A lion with wings is pretty good. We could definitely picture that one. Not too bad. A bear. I mean, we've all seen a bear before. Even though he's got a big mouth and he's fearsome. I mean, we can imagine that. A leopard with wings and 4 heads. Okay, we're starting to stretch it a little bit. It's getting a little further into the area of being really different. And then this 4th one, there's nothing in nature that looks like this. There's nothing in nature that okay, so there's a Persian god, Tim tells us, that was that would be represented by a winged lion. So maybe so that may be even a more common image to them than to us. The same beast from Job. Behemoth and Leviathan. Yes, I mean, I guess it could be one of them because we're given no description of them. Tina says it doesn't describe the body of the beast. No, it doesn't. And what that tells me says Daniel was able to be pretty specific about how the other 3 looks. When he looked at this one, there weren't really words. I don't know what a talking horn looks like. I don't know why there were 10 horns and 3 fell out to grow the 3rd one that could talk and had human eyes and a mouth that was boasting arrogantly. I don't know what any of that looks like. I have a pretty amazing imagination. I can envision some really crazy stuff. But even I'm going, wow, what the heck were you seeing? So they get weirder as they go along. So, okay, so he sees these 4 beasts. Somehow they relate to each other somehow because they all showed up at the same time in this dream. And okay, and he's got this beast that has horns. Now, the mouth of the beast doesn't talk. The horn, again, I'm guessing on its back is what talks. Maybe it's the boss. I don't know. Again, it's a wild image. But what I want you to see is that the forces of evil in this dream, or the forces of the thing that makes Daniel afraid, start bad and get worse. It's frightening. These are frightening images. I would not want to meet any of these things. Walking out to the Beetle to drive home here tonight, I don't want to walk out there and be like, oh my, there's a 4-headed leopard with bird wings standing in the parking lot. I'm probably going to scream like a girl. I mean, that's just how I roll. And so there it is. So I don't want to run into any of these things, but I particularly don't want to run into the 4th one. A beast with iron teeth and what did it say? Iron teeth and talking horns and yeah, whatever that is, I don't want to see that one. So, all right. Now, here's what you need to see in this. Verse 9. I watched as thrones were put in place, and the ancient one, and if you're following along in your Bible, I want you to notice ancient one, the A and the O are capitalized. This is our capital G God. The hero has came on the scene. Place, and the ancient one sat down to judge. His clothing was white as snow, his hair like purest wool. He sat on a fiery throne with wheels of blazing fire. I maybe he needed some heat. I don't know, but so the ancient one sat down. God sat down to judge. Now, here's what I want you to see. Pay very close attention. We sometimes get so distracted in the imagery here because the imagery is weird. I mean, I'm definitely giving you that, but we get so distracted by the imagery that we miss what they're doing. Somebody answer me this: the ancient one who shows up here, capital G God. Daniel may be, ready to have his knees knocked together and freak out. Is the ancient one concerned? How about capital G God? When he looks at these four ferocious creatures, what does he do? He sits down on a throne that has flaming wheels. I don't know what a throne with flaming wheels looks like. But I normally like if all right, as you can see, I'm sitting in my chair right here. Got my Afghans back here. Let me tell you something right now. If a four-headed leopard with bird wings walks in the door of my office right now, I'm not going to be sitting down very long. Okay, I'm going to be trying to figure out a way to get this window behind me open, and that's just how it rolls. So sitting down is not something we normally do when we're freaking out. So clearly, the ancient one, as fearsome as these things are. You know what that is to God? He calls it Tuesday, right? It's not a big deal. He is still in control, Tina. This is God being God. And, buddy, ain't nothing better than seeing God be God. So he walks in, he sits down to judge. Now, I would have been impressed had God, jumped in this thing and start punching these things. I mean, obviously, I would have been into that. God don't have to. Because even these creatures know who the boss is. And we spell the boss's name with a capital G. The rest of these beasts, there are no capital letters in there. But the ancient one is. So in the midst of this crazy, chaotic, crazy time that Daniel's witnessing in his dream, don't forget who the boss is. All right. His clothing was white as snow, his hair like purest wool. He sat on a fiery throne with wheels of blazing fire. Verse 10. And a river of fire was pouring out, flowing from his presence. He was so, what word do I want here? See, English words sometimes fail us when we're trying to describe something like this. Let's go with awesome because I can't think of anything else. He's so awesome that fire burns forth from him. It's impressive, okay? So fire is burning forth. I mean, this ancient one, this capital G God, he is really something to behold. He overshadows these four beasts no matter how fearsome they are, no matter how intimidating and frightening they are, no matter how much destruction, even though somebody's egging the bear on, saying, hey, bear, go eat everybody. When the ancient one shows up, ancient one says, hey, bear, why don't you sit down? And what does the bear do? The bear sits down. So that's right. We got some holiness happening here in an amazing way. So Daniel sees these four things. But there's no reason to be afraid because the ancient one is there. The one whose name is always spelled with capital letters. Okay. All right. Okay, so verse 10. And a river of fire was pouring out, flowing from his presence. Millions of angels ministered to him. Millions. That's the word. Millions. Millions. Not tens, not hundreds, not thousands, not tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but millions with an S, folks. Millions of angels. How many angels did these four fearsome beasts have worshiping them? That group was pretty easy to count. Answer is 0. So as fearsome and terrifying as they are, they don't have millions of angels worshiping. Millions of angels ministered, and many millions stood to attend him. The court began its sessions and the books were opened. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you ask me, Pastor Tim, how do you enter a situation like a boss? I give you Daniel chapter 7. This is how bosses do things. The Ancient One walks in. He is not even affected by these beasts, as fearsome as they are. And he sits down on his throne, and he puts on his glasses, and he says, hand me the books. And he has millions of angels ready to do whatever he tells them to do. And he's about to pass some judgment. All right? The court is in session, boys. And this is how bosses do things. Verse 11, I continued to watch because I could hear the little horn's boastful speech. Apparently the horn, while fearsome and incredible, also makes extremely poor choices. Because this guy sitting on the throne with the fiery wheels is not somebody you mess with. Okay, so the boastful speech from the horn did not stop. So what happened? I kept watching until the fourth beast was killed and its body was destroyed by fire. Where's your iron teeth now there, Mr. Fearsome, right? I mean, this is incredible. What did God do? It doesn't even say God broke a sweat doing this. It's not like, woo, that was really something. We didn't even get an action scene here. We didn't even get a fight. There wasn't even a battle. The Ancient One says, yep. And that was the end of that. That was boring. It's a terrible movie. Who turned it to the station, right? I mean, this is amazing that you've got this much of out of controlledness that God says, well, we're going to put this back under control. And Mr. Smarty Mouth over there is going to be the first one to go. In fact, I'm kind of glad he's here because he's going to set an example for the other three. Why? Okay, so he killed the fourth beast that didn't know better than to run its mouth. Verse 12. The other three beasts had their authority taken away from them, but they were allowed to live a little while longer. As my vision continued that night, okay, all right, let's stop there. So he killed the one who wouldn't shut up because God said silence, and the little horn decided he didn't want to be silent, so he was silenced. And God kind of put this whole situation under control. I mean, again, this is how bosses do things. And the lesson I'm going to throw in for free is when God says silence, shut up, just be quiet, because God doesn't like to be interrupted when he's doing his thing. So, and the fourth beast became an example to the other three that when it's time to shut up, it's time to not have your mouth making any noise. So. All right. Now, we're not going to make it all the way through this chapter. What do I want to do? Do I want to keep going? All right, we're going to go on a little farther because we're going to have to break this up because this is fantastic. As my vision continued that night, I saw someone like a son of man coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient One and was led into his presence. He was given authority, honor, and sovereignty over all the nations of the world so that people of every race, nation, language would obey him. His rule is eternal. It will never end. His kingdom will never be destroyed. Kind of how you deal with the loudest bullies and all the rest of them fall in line, Tina. That's exactly right. God just gave us a lesson on how to do that. You know, there's somebody else in the Bible who referred to themselves as the Son of Man. I remember who that was. We won't meet him until a couple of hundred years after the book of Daniel, but there was somebody, exactly, Cheryl, he foresaw Jesus. This is the exact term Jesus used for himself, Son of Man. Notice how Daniel describes him in his dream. It's chaos. It was crazy. It was insane. These chaotic, crazy monsters were coming out of the earth. Everybody was terrified. And they were telling the bear to go eat people, and the lion had his wings clipped off, but it was very, very smart. And so he was kind of the ringleader. And then you had the leopard with the four heads and the bird wings and all this stuff. And then you had the iron monster, and he was going around with a horn on his back that wouldn't shut up. So God wiped that one out. And he says, we're getting a new boss in town. It's going to be this guy, Son of Man. And he's going to have a rule that's never going to end. And lion, bear, and leopard, you guys are okay with that. I'm not asking if you're okay. I'm telling you that you're okay, because that's how we do things around here. Very, very well could be. Now, again, and there are plenty of scholars who would argue against this, but it's very easy to see Jesus in this. And remember, we're reading from the Old Testament still. Jesus, Christmas, the first Christmas hadn't even happened yet. And so this person, this Son of Man, was put in charge. We're going to stop here because I'm having too much fun with this. We're going to stop here. We're going to come back to this tomorrow night and finish this chapter. I'm sorry my introduction was so long, but I really want to set the stage for this because I think it's important. But just know that Daniel had a dream where he was foreseeing chaos. He was foreseeing danger. He was foreseeing threat. He was foreseeing fear. He was foreseeing a situation that, let's be entirely honest, nobody wanted to foresee. But understand, in the midst of the terror that he felt, and actually, if you go ahead and read verse 15, I know that's where we stop, but verse 15 starts out with, I, Daniel, was troubled by what I had seen, and these visions terrified me. And that's not hard to understand why. Bears with bones in their mouth, and smart lions that walk like humans, and leopards with four heads and bird wings, and iron monsters that crush people. Yeah, that's intimidating. But my friends, what you can never forget, and this is my biggest critique of how people look at Revelation. They look at it entirely wrong. Yes, it's crazy. Yes, it's chaotic. Yes, it's insane. Yes, it's hard to understand. Yes, to all that. But the central theme of this genre of writing, of recording these visions, is always about who the boss is. If you go read Revelation, it's very clear who wins that conflict. Some bad stuff happens in the midst of it, but the people who are terrified by the book of Revelation, I'm convinced, haven't read the whole thing. Because it's only about one thing after another about how the enemy does things, and God squelches it. It's what Revelation is all about, and we just saw that here. Even in Daniel's vision of whatever's going on here. Now, you could say, was he having a vision of his contemporary experience, or was he having a vision of the future? I say, who cares? It's a timeless message. The message is this world has some chaotic things in it. This world has some crazy stuff in it. My friends, we held a worship service outside of our sanctuary with a 5-minute window on each side of rain. That is chaotic. That is crazy. But in the midst of that, God was in charge. We're in a 14-day shutdown that's went on for 2 months now. What do we have? We got YouTube. We've got parking lot services. We've got texting and Zoom and all this stuff. Stuff we didn't have 2 years ago. And now we got it. And my friends, what does that tell us? Who's the boss? That's who it tells us. And you always spell the boss's name with a capital G, man. And I think that's what that's what we have to see. That's the recurring message of the whole Bible. The enemy tries to screw things up, and he gets embarrassed. That's how it works. Yes. Spoiler alert, because you all know I love those. Cheryl just gave away the end. God does win in the end. How many times, Cheryl asked this question, Cheryl Cook, how many times have we been able to apply what we just read to current times? It's timeless. It's God's word. And that's why it's timeless, because it speaks to the reality of what we are experiencing through the lens of the spiritual realm, through the spiritual aspects of what is going on. We may never have seen a four-headed leopard with bird wings, but we know what it means to be afraid. We know what it means to be unable to address situations that are going on. We're living in one right now. As a community, we're living through one right now. And personally, we got 30 people in here right now, which means there's 30 more things going on that are upsetting to us. But what we need to remember is that we spell our God's name with a capital G. And, when your title and all your pronouns are capitalized, that means what you say goes. And thank God for that. The urgent need for evangelism, says Scott, because God wins. That's right. Let's recruit people to the winning team. And that's kind of where Daniel was at. Why do you think Daniel worked so hard to convert 2 kings? For that very reason. He knew from the beginning of his life what the winning team was going to be. He knew a God you spell with a capital G, who killed off a monster with a boasting horn that wouldn't shut up. So he wiped it out. Why? Because he wanted to. It wasn't even a fight. He didn't even pull out a sword or a bow and arrow to do it. He basically said, and that was the end of that thing. And so what we need to understand is we serve a God who could squelch COVID-19 very quickly. Now, why hasn't he? Now we're back to Job. God does what he does because God is God and we aren't. And Job asked many of those same questions. If you're that powerful, why is my family dead? It's a legitimate question. But that doesn't negate God's power just because God is not losing sleep over fairness. In this situation, God looked at these chaotic creatures and these monsters and said, 4 is too many. So now we're down to 3. And I feel like these guys have too much power, so I'm going to take it all away. And it happened because God said it happened. No one questioned it. So now Daniel's going to have a lot of questions that we're going to deal with tomorrow. But just know, my friends, that this type of thing is addressing the chaos that we live with all the time. It may not be bears with bones in their mouths, but it can be pretty upsetting. And thank God we serve a God that we spell with a capital G. So it's a good thing. And doesn't this sound like something that would be witnessed by a man who spent a night in a lion's den and came out without a scratch? Doesn't this sound like a man whose 3 best friends were thrown into a furnace so hot it killed people outside of the furnace, but when they went in, they lost count of how many people they threw in because suddenly there were 4? Doesn't it sound like that? Doesn't it sound like a guy who said, I don't really want your pork chops, we'll take vegetables and water? Doesn't this sound like something a man like that would experience? And it's a great blessing. Daniel's a pretty cool guy. And he really did a lot to sustain God's people through a really dark time in their history. So, okay, I know we went really slow tonight, and I'm sorry about that. But I really wanted to take time to set the stage. I feel like we needed a chance to do that. Hey, Kevin. Thanks for joining us tonight, Kevin. He is in charge, and we will win, Kevin. That's exactly right, my friend. So, all right, my friends, we have reached the end of our time here tonight, and I want to cut you loose because I know many of you are going to work in the morning, including me. So, anybody got anything else from Daniel that you want to put out there? All right, did you enjoy this tonight? I know this is a whole different kind of study than what we've done up to this point. And I would like to know if you enjoyed this or not. If this was something you enjoyed having a conversation about. It's so hard doing this. I'm sitting here in my office by myself having a conversation, and I just would like to just get a little feedback from you. I just want to know if you're enjoying this. So, all right. Hey, Kevin Beninger, if you're not in my text message ring and you'd like to be here with us every night, dude, we'd love to have you. Just send me an email and let me get you on my reminder thing, and I'll make sure you get on there. So, yeah, a good start to the strange parts of the story. Yeah, it's going to get worse before it gets better. So, Yes, Daniel was a confident man. We talked about that today. He definitely didn't hurt for confidence. And because of that, he literally sustained God's people. So, oh, man, we're not ending. We're just going on a 23-hour break. That's all. We're not ending. So, yes, well, I want to give the interpretation the time it deserves, and I'm already over time tonight. So, I want to get to that tomorrow night. So, all right, my friends. Well, as always, you honor me with your presence. Thank you so much for spending your evening with me. I look forward to having this time with you guys every night. So I appreciate you. Love you all very much. Thanks for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed the church service today, those who were able to be here. And I look forward to future conversations. We'll come back tomorrow night and hit the second half of Daniel 7 and do that. I will keep you posted as to the arrival of the books of the Christian atheists that we're going to be reading next. And I will keep you posted as to their arrival time and how I can get them to you. Looks like since we ran over tonight, chances are we're going to run over a couple more times this week. We probably won't start Christian Atheist until Sunday night. So I should have time to get books to you guys next week. And Teresa, hopefully I won't miss you next Sunday. So, all right, guys. Appreciate you all. I hope you all have a great night's rest tonight. No nightmares about leopards with four heads. Just forget that because I'd rather have you dream about the ancient one on the throne. He's really the only one we're thinking about. So, yeah, if you could give this video a thumbs up. Thanks for the reminder, Amy. That keeps us in the search engines, and I appreciate that as well. So, thanks, everybody. I hope you all have a good night. Y'all know what you need to go do now. Go wash your hands.